Hi, and welcome to another edition of Newsmakers Journal of the Vaccine Year. It is Friday, October 8th, start of the NL Division Series. Go Giants. I'm Jerry Roberts. Pleased to welcome our top local journalists, Jade Martinez-Pogue from Newshawk and Josh Molina, International Man of Mystery. Nick Welsh bailed at the last minute, and we hope he's feeling better soon. All right, Jade, first of all, on COVID, where are we? Are we up, down, sideways? What's going on?
In terms of case rate, it's been slowly decreasing, not significantly though. So no real.
So we're still in the plateau.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I did see in your very informative newsletter this week, you did get the data about how many among those hospitalized, I guess, how many are vaccinated, not vaccinated? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the data was from May through August, and there were 306 people hospitalized for COVID in those months, and 85% were unvaccinated.
Wow. And that's, yeah. And that's when the Delta variant, I guess, was really kind of
picking
raging.
up. Yeah.
So for all you conspiracy theorists out there who are, even if you're not running for mayor, we name no names, Matt, get the vaccine, please. Protect yourself, protect us all. And the numbers prove it. Kind of, I mean, that's just a reflection of what we see nationally as well. I mean, it's not a surprise, but it's still kind of disappointing that we're not seeing higher vaccination rates. And can you explain, the governor, I think last Friday, issued an order which is a mandate to not only for teachers in public schools, but going forward for kids as well. Can you sort that out? Because I'm confused about 12 and over and 5 to 16 and everything else.
Yeah, so right now the Pfizer vaccine is approved it has emergency authorization for 12 to 15, and then it's fully approved for everyone 16 and up. And so the order says that basically following FDA approval of the vaccine for some of the younger age groups, then starting the next school term, so quarter semester, I guess, the vaccine mandate will go into place. So he said either January 1st or July 1st. I guess that's what the school terms are. But yeah, and then I think like public health says that the vaccine is supposed to be approved for those younger age groups by the end of the year, but I feel like they keep kind of pushing that. It was supposed to be September, then October, so we'll see.
Yeah, I just before we came on, I read a story about that Pfizer has asked the FDA for approval for the 5 and up vaccine, and there's going to be a hearing on that on October 26th. So just before Halloween. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but okay, well, that sounds good. And Josh, I'm sure that when there's a vaccine mandate for all kids 5 and over in the Santa Barbara Unified School District, that'll go down easily, and there will be no controversy whatsoever about that.
No, I don't think so at all. I do know that the school district or the school board, the district, they're tired of getting bombarded by a lot of the emails and the calls that we had mentioned on last week's show, and they're thinking about enhancing security for their board meetings, so possibly paying for an additional law enforcement officer, police department, or maybe even a private security guard. So I think that's sort of the latest news as it relates to the growing discontent with the vaccines, or the forced vaccines that are required by law. But yeah, when we get down to the 5-year-olds, holy cow, that's going to be a huge mess.
Yeah, well, I think there was one particular email that was sent to the board members last Saturday morning, I think, that was pretty rough, and it made its way around town. And as a result of that, I can report exclusively. I talked to the superintendent, Hilda Maldonado, and she has contacted Police Chief Barney Malekian about that. And I talked to the chief, and one of his deputies is going through a lot of emails that they have received to try to determine if there is a threat. I forget what the law enforcement terminology is, but there's a difference between saying, you deserve to be have your house burned down, and saying, I'm coming over your house to burn it down. And it's a fine line of law, and most of the people who've been writing seem to know what that is, but it's just a bad look. I mean, it's just not a very Santa Barbara kind of thing to do. And school boards all over the country are having to put up with this, and it's really unfortunate. All right, on politics, Josh, James Joyce III appears to be having a moment. He received a very enthusiastic endorsement from the Montecito Journal yesterday, and then today out comes the Santa Barbara Independent. And as certain people predicted last week, they also endorsed James. So what does that mean? Is that going to, I know his supporters are saying it's a game changer and history begins today and things like that. What's your take?
No surprise that the Journal would endorse. I mean, they had him on the cover twice in the last year already. And, they've been pretty clear that they support his initiative and his candidacy. The big deal, I think, is that independent endorsement, because, I think it's good for 3,000 votes traditionally, in the mayor's race. It's significant. The independent is pretty closely aligned with sort of that, left Santa Barbara, socially progressive left Santa Barbara. And a lot of people, especially in a off-year election like this, you're just going to look to what the independent says for their endorsement slate. So I think that that's significant for James. You could say every vote for James is a vote away from Kathy. This is also a big blow to Kathy Murillo, because James is a Democrat, Kathy is a Democrat, Kathy's endorsed by the Democratic Party. People are confused, and I doubt there are a lot of people who are going to be voting for James who were thinking, oh, I was going to vote for Deborah, but now I'm going to vote for James. I think James pulls a lot from Kathy. So it's interesting to see what Kathy's going to do in response to this. But this is a significant boost. I think any candidate running for office would really like to have the endorsement of the independent. And I'm sort of curious as what the next line of endorsements are going to be. Is, are they going to go with the incumbent in Megan Harmon, or are they going to go with Nina Johnson? Clearly they're going to go with Kristen Sneddon. That's kind of without saying. That's obvious, but it's interesting to sort of see what they're going to do. James has a lot of momentum right now. I think the big deal too about the independent endorsement is that he'll be able to use that to fundraise. So he'll be able to call people and say, I've got the endorsement of the independent, give me $1,000. And of course, the more you fundraise, it leads to more mail, it leads to more advertisements, and it's all about getting people familiar with who your name is. So it's definitely a big boost. It's a blow to Kathy. It's not really a blow to Randy, because nobody ever thought Randy would ever get the endorsement, and the people who like Randy still like Randy. So I think that's sort of the thinking going forward.
Yeah, I think your point about the fundraiser is really crucial, and I would emphasize that, because it is a way to say I'm a legitimate candidate who has a chance of winning, which was the theme of Gwen's editorial in the Journal. They say he can't win. I'm sure she was talking about us, but anyway.
Oh, she would never be that petty, Jerry. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge deal to do that. And because everybody agreed that on paper, James's candidacy looked great, but he didn't go out and get the money to put his message out. I mean, he lagged even the city council candidates. So, after paying Wade Cooper, there wasn't a lot left in the till. So this is a big deal. Jade, did you happen to watch Nick's, and I'm so upset with him for not being here, but that's okay. Did you happen to watch his performance in moderating the debate the other night between the mayorals?
Yeah, I watched it on Facebook, so I didn't watch it live, but I thought it was a good debate. There was definitely a lot of I feel like Nick put a bit of his own opinions in there. You know, he was very like saying what, well, I think this and this is the problem. But I thought it was a good debate.
Who did you
Matt
think did
Hope.
well?
I thought James did well. I thought Kathy did well. She always kind of does that same well, you know, but my favorite was Boat Rat Matt. I think he even gave Nick the finger at one point.
Yeah.
So that was entertaining. Had my popcorn.
Geez, I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. I thought James did well, and I thought his closing statement in particular was very, I mean, it seemed very genuine and from the heart, and not like it was, you know, kind of written down in advance. I thought Deborah did well. I think Deborah, you know, when she speaks to the issues, is so knowledgeable that, you know, somebody who's looking, ABC, anybody but Kathy might park a few votes there. And then Randy and Kathy, I thought that the two front runners just kind of meandered around. What was your take, Josh?
Well, I think we're getting a little bit of forum and debate fatigue. I think that they're all kind of starting to sound the same at this point. So that's part of it. You know, I love Nick Welsh. I thought he was hilarious. I mean, it was perfect Nick. It was vintage Nick, stream of consciousness, saying what was on his mind. And to me, he was the star of the debate. I mean, he was the most interesting one of all of them. As far as their actual performances, I think that Nick's casual atmosphere allowed James Joyce to come across in ways that he's much better at, which is just like speaking honestly and candidly and casually. I think a lot of times these candidates, when they're running, they become the candidate and they have to talk a certain way. And all of a sudden their vocabulary changes. And it's very frustrating. So I thought more so than any other debate, James was very down to earth and was clear. And I think he resonated with a lot of people. And you're right. I agree with you that Kathy and Randy are just kind of mailing it in. I think they perceive themselves as the front runners. And so they're both trying not to mess up at this point. And so it comes across as kind of bland to everyone else. And Deborah, you know, as you said, just encyclopedic brain, super intelligent, super smart. You know, she could be the city administrator. She could be the community development director, but she did too much blaming. Okay. What the residents have told me is this, and then she pointed the finger, and it's sort of like a little of that goes a long way. So I don't think she did as well as James did. And I think Kathy, like Jade said, Kathy's always fine. She's always on point. She's always scripted. It's just like there's not a lot there beyond those talking points.
I'll tell you one thing that wasn't scripted with Kathy when she said that they were talking about climate change, and she said, so we all have to give up our convenience and our comfort. And I thought, boy, of all the towns in the world where you want people to not be comfortable or have convenience, Santa Barbara's the wrong place. I'm not sure that was a great line. Jay, did you happen to notice the moment when Kathy's cat leaped behind her and off of the chair or the couch or whatever was behind her? That was, for me, that was the highlight, I think.
I think I missed that. No, I was kind of walking back and forth while I watched it. But that's funny.
It was pretty good. And then we got these fines announced by acting administrator Rebecca York to what, 4 or 5 campaigns, and a really big one, a whopping what, $6,500 or something for Nina Johnson for filing their, not necessarily their overall report, although with Nina, I think that was true, but you're supposed to file within 24 hours of getting a major contribution with $1,000 or more. This is unusual. I don't remember this happening before. Josh, is that?
There's a lot of intrigue, a lot of talk about why and how this happened. It's very atypical for the city administrator, who's also the city clerk, to come out with a fine like this so swiftly and so quickly. This stuff happens often, not to the degree that Nina did it. Okay, that is unusual, but it's so fast, it's so quick. So I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if people were pressuring Rebecca Bjork to get something out because the media did not bite the first time that they were talking about her filing late. So maybe there was a pressure, well, maybe they'll write about it once there's an actual penalty. Okay, I don't know the fact that Nina's a city employee, if the city felt a higher duty or standard to say, hey, we're not protecting anybody, we're going to get this out right away. So I don't know what's going on there, but I can't recall a time, like days after the filing, that anyone issued a penalty. Typically, you file at the city, you file at the FVPC, it takes months before the FVPC in a monthly ruling issues a penalty for the amount. Nina's amount was so high, Nina Johnson's amount was so high because she didn't file at all up until the first filing or the second filing, which was September.
After she had announced.
Yeah,
Right.
so every single contribution of $1,000 more, maybe she got it in August, maybe
And
she
it's
got it in
10
July.
bucks a day. It's 10 bucks a day for each of those contributions.
Yeah, so that adds up, and that's why she's got to now give back some of that campaign money to that. What was most interesting, Jerry, was I asked Nina Johnson for a comment, and she took a little jab at Megan Harmon. Okay, she said that she's worried about the real issues of the city. Megan Harmon sort of responded a little bit and talked about, why can't she just admit she's wrong and move on? Why does she got to attack her? And Megan didn't do anything wrong in this case. So first time we're seeing a little bit of confrontation publicly. Up until this point, it's all been about, oh, Megan Harmon's great, but I can be better, right? So now we're seeing sort of the gloves come off, probably because I don't know, maybe it's tightening, or Nina Johnson feels like she needs to attack.
Well, the ballots are out. The ballots went out this week, and so people are starting to vote even as we speak. And Jade, I know you read every word of Josh's stories very, very carefully. And his piece on this, I thought Nina's answer was just terrible. It's like,
Yeah,
did you agree? I didn't.
I read it. I was like, well, first off, it was juicy, some drama, but
I mean, journalistically it was great, but I mean, just as a voter reading it, it's like,
yeah, I think it was kind of unnecessary. The whole, I'm focusing on the real issues in front of us right now. I think that's kind of BS, to be honest. I don't know, but
yeah, and saying,
I
well,
kind of agree with Megan, like, accept what accept that you didn't file.
And I thought Randy Rouse did it exactly right. He said, hey, it's my campaign. It's all of, everything's responsible that goes out. And the numbers are right. I'm going to pay the fine. Thank you. Good night. I mean, that was the way to do it.
Yeah, well, Nina, I pulled it up, Jerry. She said, unlike council member Megan Harmon, who has received large sums from unions and other elected officials, we have taken a different approach, not accepting any donations from unions or elected officials.
No, just downtown developers.
I would imagine that a union that wanted to give her money, probably she would take it, but I don't think there is one, that wants to do it. But it's very interesting. Like it's sort of who's managing these people? This like you don't do that. You don't attack. You take responsibility, like you said. You move on and move on to the next issue, like Randy did.
No, it's almost Trump-like in its framing, which is you never apologize for anything, but that you counterpunch and hit the other guy. At least she didn't attack Rebecca Bjork. Josh, do we think Ben Romo, who is managing Megan's campaign, perhaps made a call or two to the city to demand that these allegations be looked into?
I mean, I would imagine that there was some pressure on City Hall to do something because the media did not write about it, right? There was a complaint that was filed about Nina, like immediately. They jumped on it. It was filed like a couple days after the filing deadline, and journalists did not write about it that I know of. And then this comes out, and so I wrote about it. I think others have written about it, and so it's now an issue when the city takes action. So I would imagine there's some pressure. Hey, are you trying to protect Nina? Who are you trying to protect here? You should probably get this out. But it was very awkward, and it sets a precedent for sure. You can't go in there and just penalize Nina. You got to go in there and look at everybody. So all
Well,
kinds of names got taken down with this one.
yeah, including what, $40 for James or something. Poor old James only raised about $42 in the end. It gave me
I
whatever.
thought it was funny during the debate. I think in her closing statements, Kathy was like, I filed all my campaign funds on time.
Yeah.
Everyone else.
But I think there were about 3 people out there who had any idea what she was talking about. Although Christian, what is his last name, Alonso, the head of or one of the leaders of the Young Democrats, at the very moment that Kathy said that in the chat on the Zoom call for the thing, put the link to the press release on there. So that was clearly choreographed. The other thing I got to ask you about, over at our friends at Ed Hat, there's a conspiracy minded group that thinks that Rebecca Bjork did this to protect Kathy and Megan. And I don't know Rebecca very well. Josh, is that something she would be likely to do? I think not.
I don't know Rebecca Bjork to be a political person. She was the former public works director, engineer. My sense is she doesn't have a lot of time for that sort of insider baseball, political, protect this person, protect that person. She'd probably be offended if someone suggested that. That's my sense of her. So I don't know anything about that. I think maybe just as a leader and wanting the job full time, maybe she felt like she wanted to take swift action because that's a sign of what a leader does sometimes. I think that may be more likely.
Well, and the other thing that's interesting about it is Nina has not resigned her job, right? She's still an employee of the city. So, and it was fairly blatant that she didn't, report any of these $1,000 contributions. And so I'm sure that Rebecca didn't want to be in the position of looking as if she was looking the other way about what a city employee was doing, if she was in fact breaking the letter of the law. And having once done that, then she had to go down and get Mark Whitehurst and all these other things. I mean, it's not atypical in a campaign that somebody would be a day or two late with a filing. And the other thing is, Jade, when you did your piece on what the voters want to hear about, what issues they want to hear about, where was campaign finance listed? On that? Nowhere. Yeah. I mean, it's a endless fascination to journalists and political types and stuff, but it's just not normally a voting issue. Just like, because I think everybody's feeling is, they all do it. What's the big deal? And it's essentially a paperwork thing anyway. But so I don't know that it's going to make a huge difference. But then meanwhile, Josh, we get this mysterious message this afternoon that there's a big FPPC, Fair Political Practices Commission complaint being lodged against Barrett Reed in the District 4 race. What do we know anything about that?
I haven't seen the complaint. Kristen Sneddon was on my podcast on Monday and said that a complaint was coming against somebody who had given to Barrett Reed under multiple LLCs, violating the $4,900 maximum contribution. So I imagine that's what this report is going to say. I haven't seen it. Filed on a late Friday is, you kind of want to admit your wrongdoings and confess your mistakes on a late Friday because no one's going to read it on Saturday and Sunday. Usually don't want to break news on a late Friday because Saturday and Sunday and people aren't paying attention. So anyway, it's breaking today and I haven't seen it, but I think it's going to allege that multiple or that a person under multiple LLCs gave money to Barrett Reed.
Well, yeah,
in violation of the spirit of the contribution.
Jim Cannell, which he did, and I reported. I don't know how much of a violation it is. As I recall, there were 6 or 7. So it may have gone, you may be right. It may have, there were like $750 contributions, maybe something like that. So it may have added up to more than that, but we'll just have to wait and see what the complaint. Jade, have we ever established whether you are voting in District 4 or District 6?
I'm not voting in either.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm not going to ask you, I'm not going to ask you about that one. Now, is your project about the issues that people want, is that continuing? Was that a one-shot thing? Or are you checking back with these people to see if they're satisfied that their concerns are being addressed?
Yes, in theory, there will be more articles kind of diving deeper into the issues that people brought up, housing specifically. It was hard to put them all in one story. So that was the goal. I need to get started on those, but
So it's always great for an editor to hear, well, in theory, there'll be more stories. I mean, I know.
What she's trying to say, Jerry, is she's been consumed by these Q&As, getting those published, which
are
were
those
just
yours,
launched.
your work?
I mean, I was just copy and pasting, but yeah, basically.
Well, she did all the
Josh
work.
made me send all the emails.
No. She did all the work.
So
And,
now those started, now they started running today, right? Today, Friday.
Believe the first 2 came out last night.
Oh, last night. Okay,
But,
so
yeah.
I know Matt Kilrain's on there, and who else?
James Joyce is
James.
up. We were just doing alphabetical for each race. So
Okay, all right, fair enough.
make James look a lot better being paired with Matt.
All right.
the media conspiracy for James Joyce.
Yeah.
What is this thing about contrails or entrails or something? That's like the things that the airplanes make in the sky were supposed
The
to be.
chemtrails, yeah.
Yeah, it's to mind control you, Jerry, into thinking the Giants actually have a chance.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. All right, who's on the podcast this week?
All right, so Duraka Larimore Hall and I, you're a very close, personal,
he's back.
longtime friend. Jerry, I measure the analytics and it's another opportunity to feed the audience. Anyway, we're going to talk all things politics, Santa Barbara mayor's race, endorsements, the whole shebang. So I know you'll want to watch, and I'll pass on my good sentiments to Duraka for you, Jerry.
Well, please give him my best, but as I, by my count, this is at least the 3rd time you've had him on the last 4 months. What's
Jerry, it's the 2nd time in a year. Okay. Let's not exaggerate. Let's not be that type of media. That's not us.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And what are you working on, Jade?
I'm actually going home this weekend, so I haven't really planned out my next week yet, but there's Board of Supervisors things working on.
Are they done with all their vaccine stuff at the board?
The
The mandate
requirement.
stuff, have they passed all that?
Yes, and I think it was supposed to go in effect September 30th.
Okay.
So they should all be either vaxxed or getting tested.
Yeah, and just one last word on that mayoral debate, because that would have been the lead if I was writing a news story. I don't know about you, Josh, but that the 3 other front runners other than James all were to one degree or another against a vaccine mandate for city employees, which really kind of, my mouth was agape.
Yeah, Jerry, that's a good point. I was stunned that Mayor Kathy Murillo said, well, we've talked with the unions and it's really hard to look somebody in the eye and say, oh, you need to get vaccinated when they have a personal strong feeling. Hello, our high school kids, we've told them they have to do it. The union people somehow, I mean, it's the inconsistency that I think really bothers a lot of people when it comes to, City Hall and the mayor. Like, really? Like, we have the high school kids have to do it. I mean, I don't understand. It's like, why are we babying
Well, the high school
around?
kids didn't give her any campaign contributions. That's why. And then Randy Rouse was against it, and okay, I can kind of see philosophically how he would be there. The less government, the better. But Deborah Schwartz surprised me too, that she was not against the mandate. So, yeah, that kind of jumped out at me. All right, we're almost out of time. So thank you, Jade Martinez-Pogue. Enjoy. Davis, are you going to the game? You're going to the Giants game tomorrow?
No, I'm just Sacramento. It was my sister's birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday to your sister from all of us here at Newsmakers. And Josh, what do we got? The Architects Forum coming up this week, and the Santa Barbara College of Law, I think. We're really getting down to the forum, although the architects could be kind of interesting to see what they all have.
I'm glad we did ours in August, Jerry. You look like a genius now.
Well, I'm telling you, they broke the mold. All right, listen, thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next week on Newsmakers.